Did you know that Mexico is on its way to becoming the new China in the manufacturing industry? It's happening because of its favorable location, skilled workforce, and growing product demand. Mexico's appealing offerings such as existing factories, competitive wages, tariff-free market access, strong intellectual property protection, reduced political risks, and changing perceptions of offshoring have attracted global automotive and electronic manufacturers. But how did all of this happen? With just one change, many products imported from China to the U.S. had to pay a 25% import tax. This action marked the beginning of the U.S. China trade war. More rounds of tariffs followed, with additional taxes imposed on goods worth billions of dollars. Eventually, the rates reached a high and damaging 25%. As a result, the prices of Chinese-made products increased, causing U.S. distributors to look for other countries to buy from in order to keep prices lower. This trade dispute led to an 8.5% reduction in trade from China to the U.S. and a significant 26.3% decline in the opposite direction. China also lost its position as the top trading partner, with Canada and Mexico becoming the new leaders. The COVID-19 pandemic had a big impact on our lives. It caused lockdowns, which meant that people had to stay at home and many businesses had to close temporarily. Scientists worked quickly to develop vaccines to protect us from the virus. Because of the pandemic, it became harder to get the things we needed from stores because supply chains, which are the systems that bring products from factories to stores, were disrupted. This caused problems like factories having trouble making enough products, delays in getting products from ships to stores, and empty store shelves. By late 2022, trade, which is the buying and selling of goods, across the Pacific Ocean had gotten better. But supply chains still had difficulties because of a situation where Russia invaded Ukraine. China, which is a country in Asia, has a big economy and it has changed a lot. It became known for making things at a low cost, which made other countries want to do business with China. However, this caused problems for China's own industries that make things. China has grown a lot economically in the last 20 years, and this has made life better for the people who live there. Big cities in China like Beijing, Shanghai, and Shenzhen have become very important and have a lot of rich people and a growing middle class. China has also helped its own companies succeed, like JD.com, Alibaba, Tencent, Huawei, DJI, and Didi. When it comes to doing business with the United States, physical products are a big part of China's trade. But because China is far away from the US, it can be hard to get the products there on time. It can take up to 18 days to ship things from Shanghai to the US, and the schedules for shipping are not always reliable. In recent decades, the concepts of offshoring, just-in-time manufacturing, and globalization have evolved, possibly influenced by factors like the trade war, COVID-19, and the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The world today appears to be fragmented, with strained relationships between Russia, Europe, and the US, highlighting the delicate nature of present-day diplomacy. Respected leaders in the Western world are now discussing the possibility of an inevitable conflict with China, potentially triggered by an invasion of Taiwan. This indicates that the world has become less globalized compared to 2017. Moreover, there are worrisome scenarios on the horizon that could make the trade war, COVID-19, and the Russian invasion of Ukraine seem like mere warm-up exercises. In the world of logistics, the year 2023 is characterized by a consolidation of concerns. The vulnerabilities exposed by the COVID-19 pandemic and the Ukrainian conflict have raised alarm bells, with many fearing that these events could be just the beginning. Because of these concerns, there are two main ideas on how to deal with the situation. The first is to make the supply chain more flexible. This means ordering things earlier, keeping more stuff in stock, and making things faster. But this approach can be expensive. The second idea is to reduce risk by bringing manufacturers and their customers closer together, both physically and politically. Surprisingly, a lot of people think this could be a good way to solve the problems we're facing. Let's imagine a situation where a company that makes things is looking for a new place to do their manufacturing instead of China. They want a country with a big workforce and low wages, and Mexico seems like a good option. However, Mexico has its own problems. It ranks 128th out of 180 countries in terms of how people see corruption there, and 60th out of 190 countries in terms of how easy it is to do business there. When it comes to seaports, Mexico's ports are not among the busiest 50 ports in the world. The biggest port in Mexico, called Manzanillo, is much smaller compared to the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach, which are almost 6 times bigger. Mexico's geography also creates challenges. The country is divided by tall and rugged mountains called the Sierra Madre, which stretch from the northwest to the southeast. The northern part of Mexico is mostly dry deserts. while the southern part has thick forests. The infrastructure like roads, railways, and bridges that connect different parts of the country and cross these mountains and landscapes is not as developed as China's, but it is slowly getting better. But here's the interesting part. Despite these challenges, Mexico has a big advantage that only Canada can match. It shares a border with the United States, which is the world's largest economy. Even though the Rio Grande River that separates Mexico and the U.S. cannot be used for ships, there is a very important port there. The World Trade International Bridge connects Texas in the U.S. with the Mexican state of Nuevo León, and it is used only for commercial purposes. This bridge has 8 lanes and over 6,000 trucks cross it going north every day. It has been very busy since it was built in 2000, and it continues to be a major gateway for trade. By 2022, northern Mexico's inland port became the leading point of entry for trade into the United States. Its growing significance is attributed to the advantages it offers over China in terms of speed, flexibility, and low costs. Just outside Salinas, Victoria, along Mexico's Highway 85, sits the Hofusan Industrial Park, a 200-acre complex developed through a Chinese-Mexican partnership to attract Chinese manufacturers. Although the park is relatively new and yet to be captured by satellite maps, its ambitious plans are already in motion. The aim is to attract over 100 Chinese manufacturers to establish operations within the gated park, accompanied by the development of residential areas, Chinese restaurants, hotels, and hospitals. The goal is to create a miniature Chinese enclave that provides stability for labor and a sense of familiarity for Chinese executives and operators. Although land still resembles a construction site after 6 years, progress is moving in the right direction. Companies like Hisense, Kuka Home, Sunan, and Manhua have already relocated to Hofusan Industrial Park, alongside other Chinese manufacturers such as Faur, Skyesh, Lijiong, Azinstar, and Bellenturf. The incentives, particularly in light of the cost competitiveness resulting from the trade war, are too compelling to ignore. Chinese companies are taking the leap into Hofusan Park, even before the complete establishment of restaurants, shops, and housing. It's quite surprising that President López Obrador and the federal government have had limited involvement in the industrial sector. On the other hand, specific states like Nuevo León have stepped up their efforts by actively attracting and encouraging investments in manufacturing. Lenovo, a prominent tech company, has been manufacturing near Monterrey for over a decade. In 2022, 44 Asian companies established new manufacturing facilities in Mexico, with 9 of the 10 largest being Chinese-owned. Notably, 7 of these major investments were made in Nuevo León state. Chinese investment in Mexico demonstrates an unmistakable upward trend, as seen in the graph of investment growth. Despite lingering concerns about security and infrastructure, the charm of the deal is irresistible. However, it is important to recognize that the relocation of a few dozen companies over a decade does not definitively indicate Mexico's emergence as the world's factory, China's retreat, or the end of offshoring. The current sample size remains relatively small. Nevertheless, the factors driving companies to move to Mexico persist, and the appeal of manufacturing in the country extends beyond China. While China may be a newcomer to northern Mexico, Japan, South Korea, and the United States have long recognized the region's value. Even prior to NAFTA, Mexico leveraged its lower labor costs and proximity to the U.S. through the maquiladora system, tax-advantaged factories owned by foreign companies aimed at reducing unemployment and attracting investment. With the implementation of free trade agreements, these factories multiplied in number. Northern Mexico experienced the arrivals of major auto manufacturers like Kia, Toyota, BMW, Ford, and Audi, followed by renowned brands such as Lego, Samsung, LG, 3M, and GE, resulting in a transformative impact on the Mexican economy. A 2012 analysis revealed over 5,000 maquiladoras across Mexico, predominantly in the north, employing over 2 million Mexicans. The value of these turnkey factories challenges the narrative of Mexican states being too risky for business, instead positioning them as fertile ground for establishing new manufacturing hubs catering to global companies. With that said, thank you for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more. And if you found this content helpful, give the video a like. See you in the next video. Till then, take care.